Welcome to another episode of V4 Veganism. I am here with Reynolds. He is the lead singer of one of my favorite bands, Enter Shikari.
Stop the clocks. Stop the clocks. I'm killing time.
Rao, thank you so much for doing this with us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
Good to be
especially
here.
I know you're on tour and you have a show tonight, so I really appreciate you taking the time out to talk with us.
Yeah, my pleasure.
So the first question I have to ask is, how did you find your way to veganism? How did you learn about it? What inspired you to make the change?
Because I was born vegan. Like I actually was. For
Wait,
about
what?
6 months, I was vegan, yeah.
Yeah.
And my parents were like, had been sort of vegetarian / vegan for a while, and they were going through a period of veganism, and I went for a checkup after 6 months as a baby, just like normal, doctor checkup, whatever.
Yeah.
And the doctor basically put the fear of life in them, because he was like, yeah, if you don't have your baby eat red meat, his brain isn't going to develop.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I mean, this was like 30 years ago, so things have come on since then. But
Yeah.
so basically then we just went back to being normal. And then I guess kind of rediscovered it, I suppose, when I was in my late teens.
Wow.
And have been, I think, started pescatarian, and then I've had sort of portions of my life that have been vegan, portions that have been pescatarian, and then just everything in between.
Yeah, I feel like pescatarian, to vegetarian is kind of like a normal progression of things. So your music is very politically charged, I will say. I feel like it inspires, it's meant to inspire like social change and political change. Do you find that veganism kind of fits in with that, with the things that you sing about, the things that you are trying to make people aware of in the world?
Yeah, I think for me, at the moment and for a while, one of the main things we kind of approach is climate change, and obviously one of the easiest, to a certain extent, things you can do, and we can all do personally, is to cut down on our meat, or at least red meat.
Yeah.
So that, I think, is probably where it seeps into our music most. Like we don't have like a vegan song or
Right.
something. Like I haven't really added it like overtly into our lyrics at any point, but it's certainly something that is a big part of my life, and therefore will seep into the art, some way or another.
So, and speaking of climate change, we just had our week of like global climate striking, and I was out there with the vegan contingency, and noticing that I think a lot of people just don't know about the animal agriculture side of climate change, and it actually segued into my next question, which is, in 2009 you guys released the song Juggernauts, and in it you say, I think we still have time, or what is the lyric exactly?
And I know that we still got time, but I think we're invincible.
Sorry.
And I know that we still got time.
And I know that we still have time, but I do not think we're invincible.
Yeah.
So, do you believe that we still have time?
Oh, ain't that the question? Well, it depends, like, time to do what. I mean, like, the way the world's now heading with the various leaders that are in charge, it doesn't look like we're going to keep things to a 1.5 degree level of warming, which is frightening. But like, I always, to try and keep a sort of relatively hopeful spin on it, like, human ingenuity is incredible, and when like needs must, when we're like in a situation where it's like necessary to sort of progress in some way, like usually humanity sort of manages it. So I'd sort of like to think that science is going to allow us, different ways, be it carbon capture and all these things that we're going to have to go into. We can't just now look at reducing like our emissions. We've now got to look at ways that we can actually stop the various things that will happen in our climate from like destroying like our species effectively. So I don't know. I'm very much on the edge at the moment. Like, it's scary times, but hopefully things will get better.
Yeah, I know. We're all over here like. So you're here on tour in the United States. Do you find that, you know, your diet, although we try to not talk about veganism just in terms of diet, but do you find that a plant-based diet within veganism kind of helps you with energy and keeps you going on tour?
I don't know really, because I was never really a massive meat eater anyway, so I never got the thing where, like, you know, some people who kind of go cold turkey vegan, to use a silly phrase, like they're always like, oh, I feel so much better, I feel so much more energized, whereas I was like, I had a slow kind of ascent to it, so like I never got that, like, oh my god, I feel so much better, like, my complexion, oh damn, like, you know, I never had that kind of thing. But like, yeah, certainly, like, I have to watch what I'm eating, like, not even just in terms of veganism, but like relative healthy stuff, like getting the right nutrients, because like I'm terrible at sleeping on tour. Like, if I'm in something that's moving, our tour bus, I'm not very good at sleeping. So when you're dealing with sleep deprivation, you have to kind of heighten everything else, so you have to make sure that your diet's good, and your kind of self-care has to go up, because like sleep deprivation is just horrible, especially for like mental health and stuff. So yeah, it's always on my mind, like what I'm eating, and you know, as soon as we pull up at a venue, I'm straight on Happy Cow, like, okay, where's the places, where am I going to go, like, and it means I have to spend like quite a lot on the odd like taxi or like, you know, subways and stuff like that, but you know, that's what you got to do.
Well, and you know, do you find like, or well, I'm sure there is a difference. What do you kind of notice as a difference between like being at home in the UK or being here in terms of being able to find vegan options?
Well, I mean, in New York City, it's like, it's great, like, but yeah, I mean, the worst days are like days off, so effectively your travel days, so you're going from one city to another, and we stop off in some like small town, and there's not really anything, so they're the ones where it's like, it becomes quite difficult. But you know, that's even, it's still like doable. Like, when it becomes really difficult is outside of America. I don't know, like we did an 8-date Russian tour this year, which took us super far east, so like to Lake Baikal and Irkutsk and all these places I'd never thought I'd go to, that were incredible, and like we're so grateful to be there. But yeah, eating veganism, eating a vegan diet there is pretty much impossible. So like I had to revert back to vegetarianism at least in order to not just have salad and chips every day. I was like, I can't do this. So that's when it gets really difficult. But yeah, most places now, like, it's just at least have a vegan option. So it's incredible. Like the last few years, just seeing it, even just like on my high street, on like a suburb of London, just like all the kind of chain places now have like at least one option that places you'd never dream of that would have, like, Burger King had just announced that they're trialing some stuff. It's like, I never thought I'd see that day.
Yeah, they had like their Impossible Whopper.
Right,
and they're advertising it, which is crazy.
Yeah. Well, they've seen how much money is in it, basically, isn't it?
Yes,
unfortunately, that's the reason.
Actually, there's sort of this this thing that's going around between, I would say, vegan activists and animal rights activists, that like vegan capitalism isn't going to save the world or change the world or save animals even. Is that something that you kind of agree with, or what do you feel about that whole idea?
I could argue for both sides. I mean, like, the more, you know, some people still don't even know what it is. Like, so like if they walk in Burger King and see like a vegan burger, who knows, they might try it, or maybe they have a friend who like encourages them to try it or something. And so I think there's still like just the whole argument of like awareness, and even just starting those conversations is like important. But then at the same time, I mean, I'm as vehemently anti-capitalist as a person can be, whilst being a complete hypocrite at the same time. So like, I would be happy to argue for the opposite.
I was reading this article that you did, this interview that you did, sort of about mental health, and I was wondering if you felt that there was sort of a correlation between, mental health and awareness of kind of what's going on in the world, or if there's any causation, or if you think one kind of feeds into the other at all, or if it's that's just how it is.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you're actually in touch with what's going on in the world, then you would lose your mind like within seconds.
Right.
Like, I mean, like I used to be like a big kind of just everyday politics guy, like following all the news stories, commenting everything furiously on Twitter, and it just started to destroy me. Like this was like back in 2015, and like loads of other things happened at the same time, so it was like a bit of a difficult period. But like since then, I've finally learnt balance, I think, which is just everything. Like it's so important, because it's important not to be just ignorant and apathetic, but at the same time you can destroy your mind by just like being engulfed in all the shit that's going on. So yeah, it's important to find some degree of balance.
Yeah, I feel like I get bombarded with a lot of animal stuff, which is very difficult, but I've had to let go of all the Trump stuff. I can't even I can't listen to him talk. I can't. It drives me absolutely nuts. It makes me feel physically ill to see him and hear him speak.
Yeah. I think that's quite a normal reaction. Yeah, a healthy reaction to have. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to keep you for too much longer. I know you guys have a sound check to get to, but I so
I have
appreciate...
a bed to get to.
Or
that's what I'm gonna.
Nap, yeah.
We've had a long. It's like we're on the 5th show, like a run of 5, which would normally be fine, but for some reason, just like because it's been like Brooklyn, Philly, Baltimore, like big shows.
Yeah.
It's just like, wow, we're so done. But no, but you don't feel you need to rush anything. This is pleasant. I can deal with this.
Okay.
Running around like a madman on stage is getting difficult, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, still, I mean, I feel like I could talk to you for hours upon hours, but obviously we don't have that kind of time. So I would just say that I so appreciate you speaking with us. Oh, actually, one last thing I did want to say or ask. No one else in the band is vegan.
No.
Is anyone vegetarian, pescatarian, anything?
Well, to be honest, we do eat a lot of vegan food and go to places like just, if only so it doesn't mean I'm just going to the same places by myself.
Right.
But yeah, no, that they are good in that respect. But no 100%ness.
Yeah. Any do you ever try to nudge them in that direction or no?
No, I mean I've never been that. I don't think I'm really that type of person. Anyway, like I'm not a very upfront, assertive, let's talk, sort of. But yeah, it's their choice.
Yeah.
They're obviously inundated with. Well, we're all inundated with each other's lives, so they know my thoughts on it. They make their own decisions. I can guide to a certain extent.
Yeah. Well, I've been in bands before, and I know that being in a band is like being in a family. And so, for me, with my family, they're pretty much the only people that I'm very aggressive with. And everyone else, I kind of just like let it alone to an extent. But with my family, I'm like.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
So just wondering, how, you guys are. I'm sure you've been in a band for over 10 years, and just how close you guys are. Maybe you're just like, hey.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Rory was veggie for quite a while. Rob sort of goes in and out of those kind of things. But yeah.
It's okay, we got one.
Yeah.
And you're the guy writing the lyrics anyway, so.
Yes, I'm the songwriter.
Yeah. Do you, I know I said I was going to wrap this up, but now, do you have sort of any plans to kind of throw sort of vegan message in there, like eat your broccoli?
Yeah, I guess it's working out how to do it, like, because I guess for the same reason that like our last album wasn't just straight up fuck you Trump album, like I think there's obviously a place for that in art, but like I always like to at least offer something a bit more that's taken a bit more time to like think about, and like I love analysing phenomena and then writing about it. And if it's something that hasn't been really addressed, especially in popular music, then that's what gets me excited. So that's why we write about space or like social design and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
The one way I think I'd like to get it in is like probably the main reason for me that I'm vegan, apart from the climate change stuff, is like the more the philosophical side of it. So like the like theories of delegation. Like I could catch, gut, cook a fish because I grew up doing that. My uncle was a fisherman, so I could do that if I had to. I don't think I could do that with like any other animal, so therefore I don't feel I should delegate that, what I think is a pretty horrific job, to somebody else.
Right.
So that aspects of it really interest me, and the sort of the headspace around that. About, again, it's a kind of a modern capitalism thing, isn't it? You don't see what's going on. Where my phone, all the bits and pieces that were raped off the lands in Africa to make this thing, you don't see it. And so yeah, the whole what happens behind the closed doors to produce the things that we eat and we consume and we use, that side of it really interests me, and I think there could be a song that would go into that side of it.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly tons of like animal rights tracks that are out there. They're not really out there in the mainstream. I mean, I know Sia has a couple tracks that sort of talk about it a little bit, but otherwise, kind of the way it's gone about is very overt and literal. And I don't think that really resonates with a lot of people. So yeah, it has to be, said in a way that like, isn't necessarily like this is what we're talking about, but then it's like, oh yes, this is what we're talking about.
Yeah, I guess
it's a difficult
balance. Everyone kind of has differing levels of like what's gonna influence them and affect them and persuade them, don't they? I suppose, like, but sometimes the real in your face, like, you are vile because what you put in your mouth, like, that's not going to persuade many people, I don't think.
I mean, of course, Morrissey does have Meat is Murder. But I don't even think that many people who are fans of his, that's not their go-to song of his anyway. Right. So.
Yeah, and now everything that comes out of his mouth is horrific.
There's also that. There's also that.
So,
that's a whole separate issue of, I know plenty of animal rights activists that are sort of, turning a blind eye to his politics just because he is for animals. Right. Which I don't necessarily think helps our cause in the long run if we are saying veganism is a social justice movement, which is where I believe that it is.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree with that, but I would still listen to, well, actually, I don't even like that much. I like the Smiths, but I don't really like that much of his stuff anyways. It's easy for me, but I know people who are like, he is like, God-like figure, and then like, I don't know how much you hear of what he talks about in America, but like in the UK, it's his politics is now everyone's just like aghast with what he's talking about. Yeah, like, he's just lost it. It's very sad, but yeah.
Yeah, I will say in the U.S., what Trump is trying to do, we're sort of already have done with education, is this isolationism, and we're not taught a lot about what goes on outside of the United States. We're barely taught about what goes on inside of the United States. So, we don't get a lot of civics classes, if any. Like, you kind of have to go to college for that. Right. I took one government and politics class for a semester in my senior year of high school. So, and that's like, that's the education system here in the United States. So, just from knowing of Morrissey and then, hearing the controversy, like, but we don't really, there's not too much in the news about that here.
Well, I guess count yourself lucky for that. You can still hold him in some degree of like light.
Yeah. Well, and that, I thought that was really interesting that you kind of did an album that was sort of inspired about what was going on here with Trump, but then I guess also Brexit as well. And because you guys do get a lot of news about what happens in the United States over in Europe.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think it's almost like a global trend, isn't it? Like the kind of that way where you just kind of just look inwardly, whether it's nationalism, which we thought was a dead ideology after World War II.
Yeah.
It's like now it's like perfectly okay to just kind of build walls and wave a flag and all that kind of stuff that I thought we kind of intellectually were past. Yeah. Look at me, look at my face. I'm just like, oh god.
I know.
It's been lovely though. Like I don't know whether it's because we tour in a kind of relative progressive bubble, but like the atmosphere, like at the shows and on the street and the people that we meet is still very like welcoming and loving and accepting, and so sometimes you can get so bogged down in the news and thinking that America is just this big divisive place, and the same with the UK. If you've been following what's going on in the UK, we're obviously with Brexit at the moment, and yeah, but then sometimes when you actually go out there and meet people, everyone's still nice and open, and
Yeah.
not everyone, of course.
Do you find like something that I didn't know, because I pay attention to lyrics because I write lyrics. I think that's why I listen to them. A lot of people don't listen to lyrics and they just listen to the melody and the music. Do you find, or do you think, or do you know that you have fans that don't necessarily know what you're singing about? They just they like the heaviness of the music and...
Yeah, definitely. It always intrigues me like what portion of our fan base is one, listening, and two, into it. And we released a book earlier this year, Dear Future Historians, which is like all our lyrics compiled, and then I do like an essay which like accompanying literature to each song, so explaining the inspirations, what the lyrics mean, and that sold so well. So like I guess we're quite lucky that like a lot of our audience is really passionately into like what we're talking about, but of course there's going to be an equally big number who just kind of dig the music, and it's cool.
All right, well now I will stop talking and I will let you get to your nap before your show.
A rock and roll nap.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you, Rao, so much again for doing this with us. If you guys want to follow Enter Shikari, as I believe you should, you can follow Enter Shikari on Instagram, follow Rao on Instagram as well, entershikari.com. And yeah, you should definitely get yourself out to see a show. It's an amazing show. I love coming to see you guys. And thank you again. And we'll catch you on the next episode.